Now, the meaning of sadistic behavior is pretty simple. It is when someone gets pleasure out of seeing others in pain, and getting a thrill out of inflicting pain on others. If you're more sadistic, you probably like watching more gore movies, or more into MMA, or maybe you just like the idea of someone getting tortured. And although it could seem just horrible and unspoken of to see others in pain and enjoying it, it is actually more normal than you think. If you harm someone out of revenge and enjoy it, that's also pretty sadistic. Plus, an eye for an eye is more liked by people since that seems more like justice than turning the other cheek, to which people will just assume that you're weak. But you also have people who would like to laugh and seem to enjoy innocent people their pain, even though they haven't really done anything towards anyone. Like seeing someone standing in something, or when someone is getting yelled at. And there could be multiple reasons why someone would get pleasure out of seeing innocent people suffer. People typically do things to get pleasure or avoid pain. For most, seeing others in pain or hurting others causes us to feel their pain, a sense of empathy. But some people either don't feel or care about others their pain, or they do feel it and they enjoy it. When thinking about sadistic behavior, we often think of torturers and murderers, but you also have the less extreme of it, which would probably be something like an internet troll or like a school bully or something. But I think that over time, people have become more, I guess you can say, warmer? I mean, going from here to here. Seeing a public execution nowadays wouldn't be as... people wouldn't be enjoying it that much anymore. But anyway, the fact that we have become more warm probably made it more difficult for many of us to harm the innocent while getting pleasure out of it. Many who would try and torture or kill someone would be haunted by the experience. But someone that is more psychopathic, for example, would be more likely to just, do a little stab and go on with their day, as if nothing happened really. And a sadist would probably do a little trolling and go on with their day, probably happier than before. And for the ones who wonder why and how this is even possible for someone to be able to think of doing something like this, well, it is because that person has sadistic tendencies and they enjoy the pain of others to make themselves feel better. That is the core of a sadist. And so, whenever you see someone on the internet spending time out of their life, making sure that someone else's day is at least a little bit worse, someone might say, you're a waste of resources, while someone else might say, that was pretty funny. Now, for the ones that are not sure now about whether they are sadistic or not, I wrote down a small tier list to help you figure out your true sadistic nature. And so at the lower end, you have the lower sadist, who would like watching things like fight sports, probably never participating themselves, thinking that they could have landed a good few punches on Tyson Fury if they just had a few boxing lessons. Then you have the more medium kind of sadistic behavior, and where you would be more interested in watching videos or documentaries in where people have been tortured and murdered throughout history, thinking, ugh, it's kinda cool though. And lastly, you have the extremer kind of sadistic behavior, and where you fantasize more often about other people in pain, watching tutorials on how to torture someone effectively, and in conclusion, now that you know in which category you belong, you might be more aware of sadistic behavior, and if you belong into the extreme form, well, good for you. And that's about it. Thank you for watching. Take care.